Welcome, apprentices and What? Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic Remake trailer has been made private? Previous tweets and posts about the game have also been deleted? What the f-
Ready up, my destiny.
Welcome, apprentices and acolytes, to unlock the knowledge, and you can get everything you want about Star Wars when you're coming into the Dark Temple, visited by Mara Jade, Kotor, and so many other Force sets. I'm so mad I can't even do the intro. I'm not even gonna lie, fam. I'm so frustrated about this. And you know how I am, guys. You know that I'm not some toxic, nasty Star Wars creator, okay? Like, I'm literally like the dude that is, even when I don't like the sequel trilogy, I'm still defending the sequel trilogy as best as I can, because I'm a Star Wars fan, I love Star Wars, and I'm gonna do that. But I cannot defend the gaming part of Star Wars at all, man. There's, all right, listen, all right. Before I get into this, okay, there are some fantastic games out there right now, for Star Wars. Even Battlefront, like, even though Battlefront had one of the worst launches in video game history, I feel like, it still became like a solid game, a fantastic game. Star Wars Squadrons is amazing, and I don't care how hard or difficult the game was, it was amazing, okay? And Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, incredible, man. Like, it's our modern day Kotor. Is it as good as Kotor? I don't think that's an okay topic to even compare the two, just because, like, nostalgia is so powerful, and Knights of the Old Republic is responsible for a lot, but Jedi Fallen Order is as well, But this Knights of the Old Republic stuff, man, is not okay, okay? And so Daily Star Wars Games on Twitter is breaking this, and now apparently that's the thing too, is I heard about Knights of the Old Republic not being a thing, because if y'all know about Asper had been the one that had been working on Knights of the Old Republic ports for the longest time. And, there's a whole issue right now with, like, Knights of the Old Republic 2, and they were trying to release it, and then they said that there was going to be a mod that helped, like a player mod, like someone actually made this, it was a fan that made this, that made the game runnable and better, and the game ended up shipping, and now it's not part of that, and I think there's like an actual lawsuit happening with this, but I love Knights of the Old Republic 2 more than KOTOR, okay? And the reason, that's just a personal preference, okay? It's just personal preference. I love Revan, I love all these characters, but Knights of the Old Republic 2 I thought was one of the best written games, especially with Traya, because of Traya and what she does. But Knights of the Old Republic is practically a Bible for the expanded universe, okay? And what the flip is going on? How does this happen, man? Consistently. It's not just like one time, it's consistently, And it's also just the Old Republic in general. And I think that there is a lack of awareness or a lack of understanding about how important the Old Republic is. And you know me, you know me, okay? Apprentices and Acolytes, you know who I am, and you know that I love the High Republic, man. I love majority of the Disney projects that are going off, dude. I think the Book of Boba Fett is a good show. I think Kenobi, in my opinion, is the weakest part of the entire Disney brand so far. I don't like The Last Jedi, but there's things that I like about it, and I just get emotionally butthurt about Luke Skywalker like everybody else. Rise of Skywalker is okay. I just think Rise of Skywalker it's just okay. It's eh. But outside of that, out of the 4 or 5 years of criticism that we've just heard over and over that I just reiterated, the Knights of the Old Republic and the Old Republic era of Star Wars needs to have more love. It needs to have more attention. And they need to start creating projects for the Old Republic. And the one way to do this is to have a reboot, a remake of Knights of the Old Republic. This should be one of the most important projects in Star Wars. I'm not saying as important as like movies or live action, but outside of that, it should be right there with the High Republic. Because these are two eras that are ultimately going to be, going forward, right? 10 years from now, people are going to look at these eras and they're going to see that, okay, this is where a lot of these characters come from. This is where a lot of the future, because they're making fans now, right? And Knightdale Republic clearly has made fans for years, 20 plus years, okay? It's the same thing with Heir to the Empire series, right? Now we're getting that live action. So that era, post Return of the Jedi, is being taken care of. And it's been taken care of with The Mandalorian, Season 1. And there's a lot of attention to that era. You know, we got Dave Filoni, our boy, on there. You know, Jon Favreau, all these amazing, talented people. But who's taking care of the Old Republic, man? And it's just sad. It's just, you know, I'm telling you right now, okay? And there's a lot of haters that are probably going to listen to this podcast, and they think I'm on their side, and I'm not, okay? But I'm telling you right now, I want James Wu, okay? He's ultimately responsible for two things, and that is helping Star Wars visions get created, and the High Republic. And if I'm James, I'm looking at the Knights of the Old Republic and I'm licking my chops, because I would want to get my hands on that and go ham. Bring back Revan, bring back Malik, bring back Vitiate, you know, get your boy. If I gotta talk to him, you know, get your boy, the Knights of the Old Republic, and get it going, man. Look at the Kotor, SWOTOR, all those games, you know? I think Knights of the Old Republic can do so much for the brand of Star Wars, you know, the depth of level, and because there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, okay? And I think a lot of those questions are going to be retrofitted, I guess you could say. I think that's a unique term, and the reason why I say retrofitted, but because I like the idea of how you create something, but it's also repurposed, you know, and you give it more value. And I think that the Knights of the Old Republic can do that because of the Dawn of the Jedi movie. And this is the best time to do that because Lucasfilm has so much control over all these things. So now, where the biggest flaw in all of Star Wars, in my opinion, has been the expanded universe. What? How could you say that? Listen. It was the biggest flaw because there were so much amazing things in the expanded universe. But George only had it as a placeholder, a template. And when he wanted to do something with it, then he retconned it. He wrote over it. That was the whole point of the Dark Empire series in 1991. You know, and then you have Heir to the Empire as well. It came out in 1996, 1995, you know, and those books were amazing. Those books essentially restarted the love for Star Wars in the era, the dark times, right? That's what people called it, right? So you have that now, and now, you know, rumors had come out about what George Lucas was going to do for his sequel trilogy with Darth Talon and Darth Maul. Leia was going to be the brand new, you know, the brand new chosen one. So when you take that into account, Heir to the Empire, Thrawn, that probably couldn't have existed, you know. And if it was going to, it was probably going to be a watered down version of that, just to help George's story become what it was today. And that's always what happens. George has the expanded universe there, but he only uses it when it benefits him, or he just really likes the stories. You know, for instance, like the courtship of Princess Leia. How the courtship of Princess Leia is such a damn good book. You know, that, look at Dave Filoni making so much about that now. With the Night Sisters, the Great Mothers, the dark magic, all those things, you know? And then of course they use that in Book of Boba Fett as well, with the Dathomirian sisters writing Rancors, and then, you know, now we find out that they also rid Pergol, which is also pretty badass, you know? I could get a whole freaking series of the in the Old Republic about the Dathomir Night Sisters, you know, or the Dawn of the Jedi. I think that'd be really cool. But to go back to Knights of the Old Republic, because I don't want to talk about this the entire time, this is not okay. This is not okay. It's sad, and it's very hard these days to have production and to find money for these projects because things are expensive. And it's not just things are expensive, okay? It's also just getting people together that are like-minded, that want to work on this project, are also very hard because a lot of them don't have the necessary experience. It's the same thing with me, right? I know a bunch about Star Wars, okay? But can I make a video game? No. Can I write, like be an actual writer for entertainment? No, I don't know how to do that. I can't direct, I can't do all these things, you know? So they have to find the people that are incredibly talented and also find the people that are also incredibly experienced to get on these projects, and that's why these projects get delayed. And now, there's someone as well that was saying these things to and was talking about it, and I don't know who they are, but this person was saying that, oh, the person that they hired for KOTOR, also, I can't remember, I don't want to say the person's name, actually, the person that they were talking about, one of the devs, was saying that the person that was working on it hated the game, and they gave us screenshots, a supply of screenshots, and all the screenshots said was that the person worked on Knightdale Republic Remake, and then that they were so happy to be back in BioWare, and the last screenshot that they had was, KOTOR isn't your favorite game, and that person said no. And people have been using that out of context to think that the person hates Knights of the Old Republic. You know, and mind you, these are the only screenshots that I've seen. But when someone tells me that their favorite game is not KOTOR for Star Wars, that's not a bad thing, guys. There are amazing Star Wars games out there, you know? And I think that there's a lot of people use that screenshot as like fuel to facilitate their own agenda, you know? And I think that's a part of the just really terrible, toxic part of the fandom, you know? But outside of that, don't listen to those people. Go out and research these things for yourself. You know, Twitter is, even though it's not so great right now, it's still a powerful engine, search engine, and you can find all of these things. So just do a little research, you know, type in these people's names, search them up as best as you can, and find out what's going on, so you can get your own experience of it and make your own view of it, because that's important, making your own view. Don't listen to someone else. Don't listen to a thumbnail or a clickbaity title like I'll probably have. Just listen to your own stuff, okay? And we need Revan. We need Knights of the Old Republic, man. It's sad that it's taken this long for something like this to happen, and it's only gonna be longer, you know. And you know, that screenshot, sorry, that post also says that the previous tweets and posts of the game have been deleted. And I'm actually gonna go see right now on YouTube as I do this. You probably can hear my mouse. I'm gonna do KOTOR Remake trailer. I actually reacted to this trailer, by the way. It's still on IGN, so that doesn't make any sense. I see it on IGN. I'm not sure where it originally was. I'm not sure if it was on Asper, because if it was on Asper, I feel like that makes sense, because I feel like that dev is just that studio is no longer around. But it is still there. I'm clicking it right now on IGN. Yep, it's there. Yes, it is there. Yep, there's Revan there. So it's still on IGN. So yeah, it's breaking. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake trailer has been made private. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe it's perhaps of the other game studios that, but IGN's trailer, it's still open and it's still there. So this, you know, this is what we do. I like to do these type of things. It's also on GameSpot. GameSpot is there as well. Yeah, both the trailers. Okay, so GameSpot and IGN still have it publicly. But yeah, that's it. KOTOR needs to have more attention. KOTOR needs to be taken care of, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. So, frickin' Ahsoka, bro. Ahsoka has been insane. Oh my god, dude. And Kujet, right? This is the one, the Tomb of Kujet, right? The Sage of the Zepho. So, for all of you that do not know, I've been loving Ahsoka. It has been amazing. It has been so good. You know, even the first 2 episodes where everyone was like, I'm not feeling this, whatever, bro. Whatever, man. Go watch Star Wars Rebels. And even those people that say that they've watched Star Wars Rebels, I feel like haven't watched Star Wars Rebels. You know, a lot of it, not all of it is perfect, but a lot of it is really good. It is. It's solid. I think the first couple seasons, just like Clone Wars, start out a little slow. The animation style is a little difficult to get used to. You know, I'm one of those people that didn't really understand why the lightsabers were so thin and weird. But even with the way like they were depicted in Ralph McQuarrie's concept art, I still like how they look in Clone Wars. I prefer them in Clone Wars rather than the Star Wars Rebels. But outside of that, man, the show is amazing. I never really liked Ezra as a character. You know, it's not like I didn't like him. He didn't appeal to me. You know, I like Sabine. Hera was really freaking cool, of course. I liked Kanan Jarrus at the end. You know, Maul, all these other characters. Of course, Ahsoka, man. That Star Wars Rebels made me really like Ahsoka, because I did not really like Ahsoka at all in the Clone Wars. And then Star Wars Rebels, you know, we got to see the more mature version of her. More wisdom, more experience. Of course, more powerful. And yeah, it was just very, very beautifully done. And I think that's what's so beautiful about the animation stuff, because it fleshes out these characters. But there is so much going on, man. And Bailin's skull and his story is insane. I love it. You tell me about a plot, right? Before Ahsoka was even announced, and I wanted to explore the Force. I wanted to explore, and we have, man. We got World Between Worlds. We got so much. Night Sister magic. There is so much happening, and now we have Ahsoka the White. Oh my God, man! And now with Bailin's skull and the relationship between him and his apprentice Shin, and I didn't care for Shin too much. I loved the appearance of these characters, like the armor, the aesthetic, the lightsabers, man. Really cool looking, very old Republic, you know? And I just love the dialogue, man. The music, oh my God, the music is so good, oh my God. Oh, Kenner has just been, they've been killing it, man. And there's one specific, right? There is one specific conversation that happens, and it's between Bailin and Shin about what's happening, what's calling. He's like, don't you hear it? Don't you hear it? Calling me. And I'm just like, dude. And when he's talking about that, right, and they're waiting for Thrawn to show up, and they're on top of the temple of the Great Mothers, and the way they're talking about something, he's talking about something calling to him, and he's talking about just how calamity and the balance of the Force is always just thrown in disarray again and again and again. And you hear him explaining that, and the way they put like these giant monster roar or sound in it, and it's so cool. It's so cool. It's just so mesmerizing with the world building, because now the Force has always been great, right? And you know, everything was always at the outer rim, you know, the outer rim, you know, but now we're in a whole other galaxy, and that leads for so much more that's happening. And that's why I love the Mortis arc in Clone Wars, because Qui-Gon Jinn says this one line. He says, all the Force in the universe, right? And, you know, I'm a big EU fan. I'm a big Legends guy, too, you know? And so I think of Liu Zhanvang, where they come from, the Force didn't exist. And that's why the Force was basically, you know, they basically voided everything, any of Force ability, and it was so hard for everyone to combat them, right? But now you understand, like, that couldn't really make sense now. And if the Liu Zhanvang do come back into the picture, well, yeah, it's not gonna be the same. And that's what I love about this, because now it's just making the Star Wars galaxy, Star Wars universe, even larger than it was before, you know? And I want to know what is calling Bailin. I want to know what's calling Bailin so much, because now I was so interested in Ahsoka, and then, you know, meeting Anakin Skywalker, and I finally got that, and it's amazing. But now, like, what is calling to Bailin? And I've made a theory video, and I talked about Abeloth, because I love Abeloth. I love Abeloth. I love how just stupidly overpowered Abeloth is. And I feel like every universe needs something like that, you know? Like, because when you think about Lord of the Rings and Morgoth, and it's so awesome just to know that, you know, these demigods basically all had to unite against this one guy, you know, and they use their power to create lamps across the universe. And this guy's going around destroying these lamps, which is the only source of light, and they can't stop him, you know? And then, of course, you have the original Lord of the Rings trilogy that's, you know, that's out, and then you see Sauron, you know, die and end. And it's so cool because, you know, people that understand a little bit more of the lore, they know that, like, Sauron isn't the big bad, you know? And that's what I love. It's kind of like a Palpatine thing. Palpatine isn't the big bad. I mean, Palpatine is the big bad in the movies, but, like, there is another ultimatum. There's another ultimate evil out there. And that's what I love just about the Force, you know? And the dark side of the Force. Something that is ancient, something that originates beyond that, you know? And that's what I can't wait to see the Dawn of the Jedi stuff, because that's a big part of that story arc too, is that, oh, you know, we have some Jedi, you know, a Junta Pool and everything, and then they dip into the dark side of the Force, and they're like, hey, we could use this for good. And then there's a civil war, you know? Good light side versus dark side, or light side versus dark and light side, right? If that can even be a thing. And that's essentially what happens with 100 Years of Darkness. And that's how the Dawn of the Jedi starts, and that's where they break off and they get exiled, and then they eventually later become the Sith. So the Jedi created their own problem, you know? with our closed-mindedness. And I've always loved that idea. Because now you could have something like, well, the light side of the Force, right, or the Force itself, and then you have the dark side, which is a perversion of that, right? It's an augmentation. It's not, and then that's when people start tapping into that source of power, and that's what makes the galaxy go into disarray. Okay, and that I think is really cool because what if something created it, or perhaps it was always there, but someone or something gave it exposure, right? And it could be a Junta pool, or it could be something else. Maybe it's something that's calling to Bailin, And that's what I love. Because you hear about the Zepho and the Tomb of Kuchit, and all this other thing that's happening. Maybe it's Abeloth. People are saying it's the sun. I don't think that would make sense. I don't think the sun should be able to resurrect himself. I think that's the whole point of the dark side, right? Palpatine should be the only ultimatum, because that's how just strong Palpatine was. I'm not saying like things can be more powerful that can't be more powerful than Palpatine, but I just love the idea of Abeloth and creatures like that, entities like that are just predates everything else. The ancients, the Zepho. Oh, there's so many different the Celestials. You guys remember the Celestials? So yeah, that's the big thing, man. But it doesn't matter what happened. We have one last and final day. One last and final episode of Ahsoka, and it's coming up. And when it's done, fam, you can come and talk to me, and I will always be in one place and one place alone. Inside the Dark Temple, visited by Mara Jade, Luke Skywalker, and Kyle Katarn, and so many of the Force sensitives like yourself. I am Lord Dagovere, and I'll see you around, fam. Deuces.